the Syrian National Coalition have no legitimacy. This is a coalition that was formed by Western powers to serve their interests in the Levant and in the region, and empowering them by stealing the country's resources is contrary to law. It's contrary to international law. The only legal entity right now in Syria is the legitimate government. Now, so you cannot trade with armed groups. They do not represent the interests of the Syrian people. They are, most of them, we're talking about 29 different countries fighting in Syria. Today, a report came out that stated that 17,000 jihadists are now in Syria, and half of them, almost half of them, come from Chechnya. Now, these people have no right to those resources, and they are not legal entities, and therefore this is absurd. So who has what is completely irrelevant here. The point is, these are not legal entities, these are terrorist groups, and they are terrorist groups even according to US State Department reports. If you read the State Department's reports on Syria, they admit that these groups are terrorist groups. Now, FSA and Jafat and other Western and Gulf state-funded groups have no legitimacy whatsoever.
Right, but regardless of what anyone thinks...
it's very easy to accuse... it's very easy to accuse people who tell the truth of being pro-government. I am Irish. I have absolutely no interest in Bashar al-Assad as a leader. I'm looking at the facts, and the facts are you're talking about terrorist groups who are now trying to get control of the country's resources.
Gearoid O'Colmain, I take your point about that, but regardless of what anyone thinks of these groups, the fact is that they are in control of a lot of these oil fields in parts of Syria, for better or for worse, and for that reason they are in a better position than anyone else to win the battle of hearts and minds among the local populations there. Is anyone in a position to challenge that?
They're terrorizing the local population. They've been doing it now for 2 years. These are war crimes, and these are war criminals.
Well, that's your opinion, but that's certainly not the opinion of others.
No legitimacy, these people.
I'm going to let
it's not my opinion.
I'm going to let al-Azm respond to that.
I can't believe you're hearing this. The guy's an Irishman.
We're talking about Saudi jihadists,
you don't know anything
Chechen.
About politics.
Well, you're not used to hearing the truth, are you?
All right, Gearoid, just hold on a second.
Just
let our guest in Istanbul respond for a moment.
This is outrageous. You have this Irishman claiming to be, reading the facts. He knows nothing
Arguments
about
hominem
about the facts on
is
the ground.
irrelevant here.
You don't know anything.
Let's talk
because
about
if
facts.
You did, you wouldn't be saying what you're spouting is absolute rubbish. I'm sorry. You have no idea what you're talking about. And
Look, calm down and let's talk about facts.
No. Look, you are not Syrian. You have no idea. We are Syrians.
You're not used to hearing facts, mister. You're not used to hearing facts.
We are Syrians, and we are better placed to make decisions about where we wish to be, and we don't need an Irishman to tell us that.
Just let Amr respond, and then I'll turn back to you, Gearoid.
I've responded. I don't think I need to say much more than I've said. The man is completely off the scale here.
He's ignorant. Basically, he is ignorant.
Yes.
Gearoid, go ahead.
He's very ignorant. Thank you, Anas.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. I don't have to say anymore. He's just hijacking the whole episode, the whole program, and he's just, saying the regime's propaganda.
I'm allowing you to speak. I'm giving you loads of time to speak. It's very amusing to hear the two of you and your hysterical outbursts. Look, you cannot, under international law, you cannot deal with armed groups. Okay, states. No. There's a protocol under international law. Look, I'll quote it to you. For example, the 1962 resolution 1803 on permanent sovereignty states, violations of the rights of peoples to sovereignty over the national wealth and resources is contrary to the spirit and principles of the Charter of the UN and hinders the development of international cooperation and the maintenance of peace. Okay? Now that's the UN. That's the legal position on this. Okay? Now, what about the UN Declaration of 1981?
What's the legal position on the dictator
intervention
people?
And interference. Excuse me, don't interrupt me, sir. I didn't interrupt you.
At his cities. What is the legal position about somebody who imprisons 250,000 people and they're disappeared and we know nothing about them? What is the legal position when members of the Shabiha, the regime's own militias, go into villages and massacre them in front of us? What is the position on any of these things? What is the position on the dictatorship that has ruled Syria with a rod of iron for the last 50 years, and people like ourselves have been imprisoned, tortured, and basically driven out of our home.
All right, gentlemen, let's just cool our heads. Let's just let cooler heads prevail. The two of you are obviously not going to agree on this. I want to move on to another. I want to move on to another issue, if I may.
The legal position.
Hold on a second, Gearoid. Let's just move on to something else for a moment now.
No,
if I want to turn back,
respond in 2 seconds.
All right, then briefly.
No. The legal position is, if here today in Paris, if we had armed gangs going around with Kalashnikovs, trying to take over the city, I tell you what the legal position would be, and I tell you what the legal action of the French government would be. They would send in the Air Force. We would have the gendarmerie on the streets, and we would have the military on the streets, and they would arrest them, and they would kill them if necessary. That's
all right.
Because states have the right to defend themselves, and that is the legal position, okay? Now, you can talk about torture all you want. Look, well, first of all, that's not true. They have been using, in fact, and the New York Times has even admitted this. I mean, if you read through the lines in the press, they tell you these things. They've been using food as a weapon in Aleppo, okay? These people use food as a weapon. They terrorize the local population. In fact, they even boast about it. You can go on YouTube. You can watch it. They love it. They put it on for their friends. They put it on for their, in order to entice more people to come and join them. Okay? I haven't seen one crime proved yet by one crime that has been proved.
All right, we've got to leave it there. We could certainly spend a lot longer talking about this, but unfortunately,
literally thousands of crimes by the so-called rebels.
Gearoid O'Colmain, we are out of time. I want to thank all three of our guests, Anas al-Abdah in Manchester, Gearoid O'Colmain in Paris, and al-Azm in Istanbul. Thank you very much for your time. And thank you for joining us. Remember, Al Jazeera has extensive coverage of what's going on in Syria, not just on this program, but in our news broadcasts and online at aljazeera.com. I'm Hazem Seeker. Thanks for watching Inside Syria. Bye for now.